If you're the kind of woman that never asks for help, always handles everything on your own, and finds it really, really hard to trust and count on other people, then this video is for you. If that's you, you've probably been called strong your whole life. And hyperindependence can't look like confidence. That's why people think that. That's why people call you strong. But while it looks like confidence to others, what's usually hiding is fear, pain, and emotional exhaustion. Deep inside, you're wishing someone would show up for you, but you think it would never happen because no one really ever has. You feel like you can't count on anyone. And this is something that I love to talk about because I was once the queen of hyperindependence. And while I had some pride to it, like I enjoyed feeling like I could handle everything on my own, I also noticed that it kept me pretty lonely. And I was stuck on this never-ending cycle of burnout because I literally did everything for everyone and myself at all times. I didn't realize it then, but I do know now that I was just in a constant survival and exhaustion mode. But once I understood where it came from and how to let go of it, I started to build healthier, safer, and more reciprocal relationships with people that I could count on and I felt safe relying on. And if the idea of relying on other people sounds terrifying to you, I get it. It was terrifying to me too. But here's something that I want you to know about that. While some patterns, it might feel like it's protecting you because they did at some point, and we're gonna talk about that. Now, all these patterns do is keep you stuck in cycles that no longer serve you. So let's unpack this. Let's start in the beginning. The first thing that I need you to understand is that you didn't choose to be this way. You didn't choose to be the strong one. You didn't just wake up one day and you're like, you know what? Today's the day I decide I no longer need anyone. You became hyper independent because you had to. For many women, especially those raised in emotionally unstable homes or unsafe homes, being self-sufficient wasn't a preference. It was about survival. The younger version of you realized very, very quickly that in order to keep the peace at home, to keep your parents okay, to receive any love, care, affection, she couldn't need much, she couldn't feel much, and she definitely couldn't ask for help because more often than not, that would lead to criticism, disappointment because people just wouldn't show up for you, or even punishment. So let's take a look at some examples of what this might have looked like. If you grew up with emotionally unavailable parents, you may have learned to stop asking for help or comfort because it's like there was no one there. The emotional availability and support that you needed was never there. Or when anything did come back at you, somehow they managed to make it about them. So you stopped sharing, you bottled everything up, and you learned that you were better off just keeping your emotional needs to yourself. If you had narcissistic parents, you may have been punished for expressing any needs at all. Maybe they questioned every decision that you made or made it about them, or they made you feel like you were selfish for having needs to begin with. If there was a sibling in that dynamic, chances were that you became a shadow. So what you learned was to stay quiet, stay small, and rely on yourself like you do now, because asking for anything was never well received. If you grew up in chaos or had unpredictable parents, you were probably walking on eggshells at all times. You were constantly on edge. It's like you never knew which version of your parent you were going to get. So you learned to anticipate everyone's needs at all times. And that usually means putting yours in the back burner. You became the pillar of the home. You became the one that kept it all together. You helped them with their needs and you learned how to stay out of the way. In other words, you grew up really, really fast, especially if you were the child that had to play the parent role. You might have had to care for your siblings, to take care of your parents, or handle things for your own self, but that were way beyond your ears. You were the responsible one, the fixer, the peacemaker. And because no one ever showed up for you, you learned how to show up for yourself. These are just a few examples and a few scenarios. I'm sure we can dig a lot deeper and identify more root causes, but I just wanted you to get an overview of what these different dynamics look like so you can start asking yourself, at what point did that become your normal? Now, here's the thing. In the beginning, I mentioned I thought it was prideful. I thought it was good to be hyper independent. And you might feel that way too. You might feel proud of being the strong one, but at the same time, tired of doing it all. And this version of you isn't who you really are. It's who you had to be. It doesn't need to be like that forever. But before we go into how we can change that, I want us to take a look at how it affects your life today. The first thing that might be familiar to you now is loneliness. Like being hyper independent can get pretty lonely, even if you're surrounded by family, siblings, you have a partner, your friends. When you have taken care of everything on your own, especially when you've done that your whole life, it's kind of hard to let go of that. So even when you're surrounded by people, it still feels like you're on your own. I'm sure there has been times where people offered help even, and you responded with, I got it, I'm fine, because letting them feels too scary. You could be balancing 10 plates at the same time and someone is like, hey, can I take one off your hands? And you're like, nope, I'm okay. And the reason that is because you have experienced so much disappointment. Why bother? And you can also feel lonely, especially at times when you're super stressed or overwhelmed, because it's like no one's checking in on you. But deep down, you and I both know that you're not letting anyone see that you even need help. You could be crumbling and falling apart to the outside. You don't need anything. So you get into that never-ending cycle of needing help but not showing that you need, and therefore you start feeling pretty lonely, especially when you're overwhelmed and tired. And while I'm pointing out a few things here, I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not criticizing you, because what I need you to know is that this is not your fault. You were just never taught how to receive love and support without having to earn it or feeling really, really guilty about it. And that experience is lonely. The second thing is that I know that weight is getting too heavy for you to carry. But like I said, you've gotten so good at hiding it that no one even knows. People may honestly think of you and think that you're just invincible, but it's just very uncomfortable. I know, you know, it's so uncomfortable to ask for help. It's like, what if I become a burden to them? What if they say no? What if they let you down again? Next thing you know, you're just pushing again through the burnout. So you're not only feeling lonely, but you're actually feeling emotionally drained. It gets heavy. And the last thing that I want you to think about how this is affecting your life now. So we talked about loneliness, we talked about how heavy it gets. The third thing is that you might actually be attracting people who expect you to handle everything for them. When you're hyper independent, people just assume that you have it all covered. For example, you might have a partner who isn't as proactive as you wanted them to be or as you need them to be. But why would they act any differently if you're just gonna take care of it on your own? If you're just gonna handle it no matter what? What about that friend that you invite to go out, but you're the one that has to plan, you're the one that has to schedule, you're the one that has to book? They might joke that you're the type A friend, but in reality, you're just the friend that they know they can count on. And at times you might find yourself resenting said partner, said friend group. But when did you ever tell any of them, hey, I'm drowning here. Hey, I need you to plan this. I need you to do that. Or I actually need you to take the mental load of this and see what's needed from you. And for as long as you don't get comfortable speaking up, the cycle will keep on repeating. You're just attracting people that need fixing, that need organizing, that need someone who is a doer like you, which just makes you feel resentful, unseen, and not really supported. But the truth is that you deserve just as much care, just as much effort, just as much love as you put into all of these relationships. But I know that this is much, much easier said than done. So next, I want to talk about why it's so hard to break this pattern, because it is, and what you can do about it. Now, if you're the hyper-independent / doer that I've been talking about, I need you to be patient with yourself in this process, because healing from the things that have made you hyper-independent to begin with won't happen overnight. You won't just wake up one day and start trusting everyone around you and delegate everything to everyone. That's not how it worked. It was years of conditioning that led you to this point, and therefore it's not going to take years to undo this, but it's a process. So I need you to be very kind to yourself, because right now in this moment, as you're watching this video, your body still thinks that it isn't safe to trust other people. It isn't safe to rely on other people, because, well, for the longest time, it wasn't. So our next task here is to start building small moments of safety to help you start noticing who you can count on and how ready you feel to receive help. I want to try a very simple exercise with you. I want you to imagine that it's your birthday and you're planning a birthday party for yourself. Only this time, for this party, you're not doing a single thing. Before you come for me, I know you already want to do it all. This is just a hypothetical scenario that you and I, just the two of us, are working on together here. What I would suggest is once you're done watching the video, grab a piece of paper and pen and then write down the answers so you can have more time to think about it and really think it through. But the goal with this planning is to delegate as much as possible. You might not have a specific person for each task. That's okay. And that's something to acknowledge as well. So here's some things that I want you to think about. In organizing this party, the very first thing actually that I want you to write down is when I told you that you're not planning a single thing, what feeling came to mind? How did you feel in your body? Was that an uncomfortable feeling? Were you immediately like, no thanks? Or were you like, oh, okay, maybe we can do this? That's the very first thing that I want you to acknowledge. Now we can start breaking down the elements of this party. Would you pick someone to be the overall planner, to be the organizer of everything? If yes, who would that person be? And now we can break it down into some smaller tasks. Who is someone that you would feel comfortable asking to bring the cake? Who could buy the balloons? Who would you invite to go out with you and help you pick a new outfit? Who is the person you would trust to take the photos and decorate the space? For the sake of time, I'm not gonna go into every detail of a party planning, but this is just so you can have an overall idea of what that would feel like to you. I really want you to pause and notice who came to mind and how did it feel to imagine asking for those things. Was it easy? Was it hard? Was it awkward? Did you feel guilty? Did you draw a blank? This little exercise, no worries, we're not gonna do this for real. This isn't a real party unless you want to, but the goal of this exercise is just about noticing your internal state. It's very helpful to ask who feels safe. That's a word that I'm particularly attached to in the process of overcoming this hyper independence is safety. So who feels safe? Who doesn't? Where do you hesitate to ask for anything at all? And these small reflections can help you rewire the idea that you have to do everything on your own. It's also worth noticing how your body feels when you're asking for help, even if hypothetical, versus when you feel like you have to do it all. You might feel nervous and anxious, but you're not feeling exhausted. Now, if you were able to list anyone at all, that's a great first step. The next thing, if you're ready, would be to think about something that you could actually delegate to this person in your life. Now, if you couldn't think of anyone, or if it still doesn't feel safe, that's totally fine too. I don't really want you to beat yourself about it. For now, let's just focus on your awareness, and perhaps the first step that makes sense to you isn't delegating, but perhaps is saying no, is taking on less. So instead of giving something away, you can perhaps try blocking more from coming in. If you do try the birthday exercise, I would love for you to tell me how it went. I would love to hear about any insights, any realizations that came about. So let me know in the comments, how was that experience? How was that exercise for you? Were you able to think of anyone or not? Did you feel anxious? Did you feel excited? I would love to know. Please know that the goal of this channel is to help you and support you through your healing journey. So by all means, let me know how that journey is going. And if you enjoyed, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button because that supports and helps my work immensely. That's all for now. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you on the next video.